Hey, welcome back. We're going to be doing my other grandson's haircut today. And this time on the mannequin I was using my other Oster. This is the 76 that I've talked to you about. What I like about these, again, it's all the guards. The guards are all labeled in different sizes, so you don't have to use those plastic ones or those black ones. You just put it on, and it's a little heavier. So sometimes for other people, it gets to be a little bit odd because it's heavier, so they don't like it. But you can see that he also has enough hair. Boys are very healthy for 36 people. That other clipper would bog down just like it did on the mannequin. You're going to see that this one just works right up. I love it. We're going to be doing a fade up into this. Again, what's good about this is you can see his cowlicks right there. We talk about that all the time when I'm doing the haircuts. And his aren't too prominent, but he's definitely got one right here, and that's where we have to be careful. I know you can see the lights in the mirror, but do you notice the mirror's clean this time? And we apologize for the last one. We kind of cleaned it up, and
see some marks.
well, try not to look at the marks. Ignore my grandson. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. And what we're going to do, I'm just going to lift it up a bit. One thing I want you to see as well, once I take this off, remember we've talked about the area behind the ear. What direction that hair is growing, and his definitely grows to the side. I'm going to take it to the lower ridge and then carve out. And instead of doing bit by bit, this time we're just going right through it because this clipper, like I said, does the job. I love it. Once you use this clipper, there is almost like no reason to use anything else. And you can see that this doesn't take any time at all. And we're up into almost right up to the parietal line and into the area of the vertex in that center crown. And if you look real close, you can see his growth pattern going into the center. These are areas where you're going to shift the head up and go against the growth to pick that up. And then we're going to square him off a little bit in a minute. So I'm going to turn him around, lift the hair up so I can see what I've got there, because I don't want to remove his beard. I mean, he likes having his beard, so I want to stay up above that. All right, so I want to stay up above that. So I'm going to take my clipper. Notice that I'm coming right across, and then I'm going to carve up with it to the lower ridge only. And I'm using the comb to kind of guide it and hold it. Move that hair out of the way. If you can see, this clipper does not struggle. It just takes it off. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pull that out a bit and just kind of clean up his beard just a bit so that it lays nice and fits in with the cut that we're trying to do. But yes, this guard is a little bit longer, so it's not shaving it. This is a 3.5, so it's not shaving it off. Now I'm going to hold the comb vertically, and I'm going to take it straight up to the parietal line. Again, I'm cutting the hair dry. Turning off my fan so it stops blowing the hair around. And just coming up to that lower ridge. I'm going to turn him around. Remember, side to center, side to center. You don't just go all the way around. I know some people do. If you want a good haircut, you don't want to do that. So again, I'm going to comb him back a bit. You can see where he's slightly layered. Now, this hair is really dark. So, of course, we didn't highlight it for you to see every line, so I'm hoping that you can see it. If not, possibly you could also see it through the mirror as I turn him around. So I'm going to lift this up. I'm coming up to the top of the ear. That's my guide. Remember, we talked about that. We talked, previously we've talked about the lips being a point of origin. In other words, a point of measure on where you're going to cut. Happens with the beard, too. A point of origin, the tip of the nose, the bottom of the nose, the eyelids, the eyebrows, all of those things become points of origin, so when you're working on the side of the head. So for us right now, it is the tip of the ear, But there's several spots on the ear as well, as long as you remembered which one you measured it on when you did the cut, so that you're accurate on each side without having to keep going back to the mirror and looking. So I'm going to come here, again taking it right to the lower ridge, right to the temporal area on the flat part of the head. And sometimes, you know, I go back and look at these videos and I realize that I said here, which was what many times I'll tell you, what if I said I come here, I come there? But learning the terms and knowing where you're at on the head form is extreme. So you really need to take the time and go to our intro tape. So when I should say here, I'm talking about the lower ridge, slightly below the parietal line. I know exactly where I'm at with that. Once you've done these haircuts, once you've practiced with us and attended our class, you'll have an idea on when I say here, exactly what I'm talking about. There is no guesswork, in other words. Now he's got a little bit of a curl there, so I'm having to come in a little tighter. All right, so I'm going to come back to the nape. On this side, he does grow to the center still. So I'm going to come up, take it to the lower ridge. And absolutely no resistance from this clipper. That's why I love it. And we talked about before, if I wanted to do a mohawk, I'm right there, right at the center nape. Both sides, you've got the area behind the ear, that very center nape. You can place your comb there where the comb leaves the head. That's where your center nape is. That's where you would measure for the mohawk if you wanted to do that. And the vertex, again, the vertex is your other mark. So you would take it up to the vertex. And you can see that that is a perfect, right at the center, perfect, it would be a perfect mohawk, already getting started. If we went to the vertex, then we would stay up on this side of the, right, you know, the upper ridge line and the apex, and come up to the center frontal, and you have your perfect mohawk. So if you know, again, I can't stress enough, know where you're at on the head form to get this done, to do it correctly. All right, so I'm going to take this off now. So yeah, you don't have to crawl up into these cuts. Now, as I've said before, I've stated before, now you can see where he grows in right here. I hope you can see it. And he grows to the center. I mean, he totally ducktails into the center. Very natural. It's called a ducktail movement. But this part of the head form right here has a fold in it. And these are things that I'm telling you about that, you know, on a mannequin, it's not there. This is where you would pull the head a little bit, stretch the scalp, and come in the opposite direction and clean that up. Because what that does, when we came up, that leaves the back of the clipper, so it's not cutting it. So you want to stretch it so you get a nice, even, uniform cut into it. Alright, so let's take it to the lower ridge again, and you can see that I'm pretty much there. So once you know where you're at, that's why I told you, look around, look at other people, look at what they've got, and see where that lower ridge is at for them. Alright, I'm going to put this up. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my trimmer. Again, the T-blade. We're going to start at the center nape, and then we're going to travel side to side. Alright, so I'm going to shift his head down, start at the center nape, create that cut. Travel over in this direction, start it, you know, go to the center nape, and go to the other direction. Now I'm not standing directly behind him, so I'm going to turn him around to make sure I'm even. Okay, now this is another thing I want you to see. Do you see where it seems to travel up here a little more than the other side? That's the way his hair grows. And this is where we're talking about cowlicks. Some cowlicks are very firm about what they do. Other cowlicks are a little more relaxed about what they do. You have no control over it. So what you've got to do as a hairstylist is determine, do I want to see this or do I want to go up higher? Well, you don't want to go too much higher on that nape line because you don't want it to be, the normal nape line is right at the jawline. That's your point of measure on where to trim in the back. You don't want to go too much higher because then it looks like they're missing hair. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take the comb and I'm actually pressing into his head a little bit, and I've got just a minute corner right here that I'm taking off to kind of assist. Now, are you seeing that line come up now? Shift his head down a bit, and all I'm doing is using this part of the comb, not the whole comb, and I'm only using this part of the clipper, not the whole clipper. But always make sure that your clipper is on the comb, not anywhere around it, or else you're going to create that leaves more room for error. This hair grows in this direction towards the center, so what I'm doing is I'm forcing it down and just barely cleaning that up to create, now do you see a slight elevation on both sides? So as you see that he looks just a little cleaner. Now we're going to create our corner, and it'll look a lot more even. I'm going to turn him so I can do the other side. Okay. Now he fits a lot more even, especially after we got rid of those sides. Now, what did I tell you about the ears? Right, place it on there, make a half circle. Just fold the ear down a bit, hold it at you can place your finger there, bring the ear down again, and then just a half circle coming up. And you get that perfect circle in there without having to work really hard at it. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this corner here for him. And he's already trimming his beard up pretty good. He's got a good line in it, a good feature in it. Okay, now I'm going to bring the air over. Again, placing my finger and just using the side of the beard, the clipper, just this part, the T part there, and bringing it up to the tip of the ear. And then I'm going to pull the ear back, again using my finger to create that nice half circle. And then like that, you don't have to measure so much. I'm going to clean this up just a little bit more. The beard also has a way that it's growing in its own direction. Clean this little corner up. Now we're going to take care of the top. He wants a little bit of a fade area here, and we're going to do that with scissor over comb, as opposed to using the clipper. So I'm going to turn him around, and he wants it to be able to comb back. Now keep in mind, he's got a strong forward growth here. This hair says, I want to go straight forward. So when we're going to comb it back, that hair is going to want to stand up. And you'll see the tool that I'm going to use, and you already know, those of you that have been watching the videos, know which tool I'm going to use to achieve that. His cowlick isn't too bad. The hair, I believe, will comb back into it real nice, so it doesn't like stick up like some of them do. So it makes your life a little bit easier when they do that. Now I put my shear, here it is. Okay, so looking for my clipper comb, but I'm just going to go ahead and use this. Clipper comb, of course, will grab a lot more hair. I have a bunch that I got from my students and they didn't need them. Alright, so I'm going to come in. Now do you see, and I do have a guide. That hair on the bottom was my guide. You can come straight across if you want, making sure that your comb is straight to the head. Do you see where the comb leaves the head? So you want to make sure that your comb leaves the head. Now this grandson is much better behaved than the other one. You know, he's not making all those faces and stuff, but that's called family, by the way. All right, so I'm taking this off right here. Again, utilizing without pressing it down into the scalp. I'm holding it out to where that last hair was cut. Remember, this wasn't skin fade. I used a 3.5 clipper blade. But you saw how much quicker that made it. I mean, it's nothing. You know, it was nothing to do it. All right, so I'm going to take him around to the other side. I want to clean this up and do the same thing. So I'm going to comb the hair forward because right now all I want to clean up is this area above on the upper ridge. You see that lower upper ridge, lower ridge. And then here's your apex. So I want to clean that up first. You never travel around. You're going to always find that when you travel around, if any of you have been doing that, and you always have one side longer than the other, there's a theory behind that. It's called the push-pull theory. You're pushing, okay, watch my hand. You're pushing and you're pulling. Do you see how the hand automatically goes down when you're pushing? So you're pulling on one side and then you're pushing on the other. It's a normal movement. You have to keep your elbow down if you want it to go straight. And we forget to do that because we work like this. So I'm bringing that down. Again, I'm not pushing it into the scalp. I'm just taking that hair up above it, cutting it straight across to blend. Now I'm going to bring this down. And I know a lot of people, they would be doing this. I want this haircut, when you do it in this form, scissor over comb, it's going to fall into its natural fall as you cut it. You get a nicer, cleaner look when you do it scissor over comb as opposed to picking it up with your fingers to cut. Like I said, it goes into the natural fall so much better. You can do the other if you want. Is it wrong? No, not if you can make it look right. Not if you can get it to work. All right, so again, there's my guide. And you see where the comb is leaving the head, so therefore the hair right at the upper ridge around the center crown there is a little bit longer. As it travels down, it's a little bit shorter. It's supposed to be. The head is round. We're not, we're not following the head form. Right now we're just kind of cutting away from it. Okay, how long? You just want the top to go back though, right?
Yeah, but we can shorten it.
Okay, he's saying that he wants it to go back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it side to side. If I cut it front to back, it will not go back properly. We want this hair, we don't want volume, we just want it to go back. He's got enough hair, he's going to get volume anyways. So I'm going to cut it side to side. And again, it's not different, and now this hair is my guide. Cut it straight across. This is the one time I will use my fingers. See that hair go back? Okay, side to side, cut it straight across. Just like this is a short 180. That's all this is. Not different, but this is what I'm talking about. Do you see that we have hair on this side, hair here, and it's traveled to the center. So what ends up happening is you don't get a perfectly flat, straight line. That's why with the flat top, you want to make sure that you hold the hair equally straight up. And I know I took a bunch of hair right there, but we're going to take it off. And I'm going to bring the hair from his bangs, frontal fringe bang, bring it back. Can we hear the radio on this, or is it? No? All right. All right. So what he's saying, he wants it to go back. We left the front a little bit longer. You can see that. And yet it still blends. You see that it's straight across. So the tool that I'm going to use is going to be my texture shear. And I can see a corner right here. So I'm going to take that off. Everything that you do with a clipper, you can do with a shear. I mean, I could either go back with the clipper and come up a little higher. leave it alone. If you can't hear it here, don't worry about it. Okay, he turned down the radio. We're wondering if you guys could hear it or not. Talking in the background there. Okay. Now, and then if you have a problem, if you can still see a few little corners, see a few little indentations, remember, that's the hair growth. So what I want to do with him, and I'm going to teach you a technique today too, and this is learned. This is not something you just get up and do. You can create a lot of problems if you just get up and do this and you're not careful. First of all, I'm going to take the texture shear. Now see, this side grows back. He's okay here. This side, can you see that movement where this hair wants to come forward and we've got that other hair trying to go back? And you can see that hair move forward. That's him. That's not you. But the thing is you've got to have the knowledge on what you need to do to make it go back. And it's going back okay right now, but the point is, this is still growing forward. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do some scissor over comb. I got it nice and wet, so you know I'm not going to use my clipper. So see, this side lays better. Again, I'm going to do side to side. Sorry, Jeff.
Okay.
Got his face wet a little bit.
Okay.
So I'm still going to do side to side and comb it. Cut, comb, cut, comb. Now this is my guide. All right, I'm going to bring this back, bring this, and this takes practice. You're not just going to get it. There's my guide. I can see it. And you know what? I'm going to turn him around so you guys can see what I'm doing here. Again, I'm going to take a section. And it's, like I said, this is not something that you're just going to get up and do. You've got to practice it. That's why I want you to cut on mannequins first. Practice on mannequins. And you see the hair going back. Okay, I created that guide right there for that frontal area. I'm not sure whether you can see it or not, but the hair is right there, so I'm bringing this up. I can see that guide. Now the one thing that I'm going to do that you haven't picked up on the class yet, always clean the back of your shear. Never put it down wet. Always make sure you've got the hair off of it. Bottle of color. Here it is. Alright, one thing I'm going to do with him is I'm going to use my razor. This is a Tondeo that I was talking to you about. I'm going to hold it in this form. The thumb goes here. Fingers. Okay, got it? Two middle fingers on that side. Pinky in the back. Index finger, and they pivot. That's why I said it takes practice. It's not something you just do. So I'm going to comb the hair forward, and this is called sculpture cutting. Please be careful. Do not do it on a person, do it on a mannequin. What I want his hair to do right now, you can see a lot of splits in there as far as the hair splitting, and you can kind of see the line. See how that hair popped up? Okay, what this is going to do, because of his hair, because this is the surgery that I'm doing, all right? So I'm going to take it, the blade itself is going to approach at a 45-degree angle, not straight, you'll just scrape it. You have to take it at a slight angle like that, all right, when you approach it. So do you see where that's, and this is where I'm going to work my wrist to do it. I'm going to come, and I'm just gently, as I comb, taking my blade and just gently using it to just barely comb those ends in. Do you see how that hair just lays down now? See that pop up? This is done many times with curly hair to control it. But again, now see how it's laying down. Because what you're doing, normally when you cut straight across. And it's like taking a bunch of spaghetti noodles, if you think about it, and they're all cut straight across. They're going to lay on top of each other. But if you take those spaghetti noodles and you create a point to them, they're going to hug each other. That's what we're doing to the wet hair right now. How much time do I have, cameraman?
4.5.
Okay, I have 4.5 minutes, so I'm going to do this just a little faster. And see, I don't want you doing it faster. I want you to see what's going on. But see how that's laying down now? And that's what he says. He says, I want it to go back. And clients are going to come in and they're going to say, I want. And your knowledge, your experience are going to be able to give them what they want. Okay, I have a little bit of a stand up here. And just very gently, almost like you're, I'm trying to think, you don't want to tear into it. You're just gently smoothing it out. You're controlling it with the comb, but you can see that we are taking hair off. That's a fact. Okay, one thing about your clipper, your razor too, always close it. Never leave it open. Always dry it. You know, I usually have a towel here. And always close it and put it away from the client or any little kids that might be coming by. Now I'm going to use my texture shear. I'm going to work this so that it goes back. And I'm counting 5. 1, up at the upper ridge, I'm counting 1. And you see how smooth that's getting. Now he does have the length. If I take this and I take the length off, it's still going to stick out. It's still going to just kind of pop out in a way that I don't want it to. So if I bring this down, and because you're creating again that hard line. Now see how that sticks out a bit. So we don't want it to do that. So I'm going to take my texture shear, but I still want it long enough that it's going to lay over this hair that's trying to go forward. And now I'm kind of cleaning up that hair that's trying to go forward, because as I cut it to go back with the comb of my texture shear, you don't see it going forward so much. You see a cleaner look, and the other hair is laying right on top of it. 2 minutes? All right. So we're going to do this really fast. I'm going to stand over on the other side, and this side is not as bad. Again, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, taking it back, and see how much nicer that lays back. And then just 1 on the upper ridge. And it's laying back really, really nice. Now he doesn't want his bangs that long. I'm going to clean up this corner here with my texture shear just because I want to get rid of it. There. Okay, so one thing I'm going to do, because I know he doesn't want his bangs that long, I'm going to pick up the bangs right at the frontal fringe area only. Pie shape. Bring it forward, short, long. What that does, shorter does what? Moves longer. So he's going to lay back. That shorter hair at the frontal fringe is going to force that longer hair in the back to go back.
20 seconds.
And then just some gel, and that'll help get rid of some of these little flyaways. And that's pretty much it. And you can see that nice cut. He lays nice, moves nice. Doesn't have to worry about it. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed this class. Check us out again. Take care.